Hello. Welcome to my free training, my live training. Today we are going to talk about why labeling ourselves with symptoms, with issues, with diseases, with addictions even, won't actually help us, won't actually help you, and why that in itself can kind of lead to you feeling stuck and actually can potentially make things worse as well. So, and I'll also, of course, talk to you about or show you what to do instead. So in this short training, we're going to talk about what happens to our minds, to our bodies, in our minds, in our bodies, when we're labeling ourselves, okay? And how, no matter how much we may feel it, and I can totally resonate with this because this is where I was, but no matter, how broken you may be feeling, how desperate you may be feeling right now, how we're not actually in that broken space. I'll explain this all as we go through. But also how we can resolve, if we work with the labels, if we don't label ourselves, how we can actually resolve our issues, our symptoms, without needing to manage or cope with things, okay? And therefore we don't need to continually label them as well. So this kind of space of being able to resolve issues, resolve symptoms without continually needing to manage things, cope with things through life is my own healing experience, which started 16 years ago, my healing started 16 years ago. And that is my experience of my own healing. It's my experience that my clients receive. And it's also my expertise and my awareness that I'm wanting to bring to you today myself. So just before we dive in, let me introduce myself before we go in, for anybody who may not have heard me speak or seen my work before. So my name's Anna Rushmer, and I'm a hypnotherapist and a breathwork facilitator. And I basically help women to move from this space of survival mode into thriving. So we quite often find ourselves in this kind of feeling like we're just existing. We're stuck, we're in this kind of survival mode. Unfortunately, we can feel quite desperate in that space as well. And we're wanting to actually break through. We know that life is meant to be more. This is definitely where I was. I felt totally desperate, totally broken. But I just had this kind of driving force that, I knew that surely I could resolve things, surely I could get to this life that I wanted to. So it's about coming into this world of thriving and really living the life that we want to be living, feeling happy, feeling peaceful, feeling content, being able to come into this space, being able to bring in, the love of our life, if that's what we're wanting, to bring in, success in our business, to make a really big impact in the world. So that is essentially my work, helping women to move from this stuck survival mode, existing, into this lovely, abundant, calm peace of mind. So by all means, as we go through any of my trainings, do drop any questions in the comments if you'd like to, or DM me. More than welcome to DM me if you'd like to speak to me confidentially about anything. So we hear a lot of labels out there, don't we? We hear a lot of stats around mental health. We hear a lot of stats around kids' mental health. We hear children themselves, which, breaks my heart. We hear children themselves already saying, I have anxiety, so-and-so has anger issues. I am depressed, whatever it may be. And we do that to ourselves as well. This is all very natural because this is what is kind of normal within society at the moment. Doctors totally with good intention, totally from the right space will tell us that we have something, will, diagnose us, will give us a label that we have something. I personally had this many years ago, about being told that, you know, I was depressed. I didn't feel depressed. It really kind of shocked my system. Anyway, this level of awareness, this label at this point, you know, is great. Labels are great for awareness, but this is where we need to kind of use it as a, okay, you know, we're now aware that this is happening, but actually then stop using that label. And I'll explain this as we go through the video and why it's really important to do that and what we can do instead, of course. Because if we continue with, you know, kind of taking it on from the point of awareness and actually living with this label, we're almost telling us our own limitations in life. We're almost putting ourselves in our own funnel, you know, in our own box, and we're kind of moving into the space then of feeling like we just have to live with it. And people will tell us that as well. Again, totally, you know, good intentions, well-meaning people will tell us that we have to cope with anxiety. Let's use anxiety. You know, we have to cope with, we just have to find a way to manage it. You cope with anxiety, cope with chronic stress, chronic fatigue, whatever it may be. But in my experience, as I say, you know, with my healing, with my clients' healing, we can resolve issues. You know, a lot of physical issues are the result of emotional issues, you know, suppressed trauma, suppressed emotions. So we can really dig deep into this work. So coming back, I've kind of got off topic slightly. But what's happening when we label? So what is happening, you know, within our minds, within our bodies, when we are continually using labels? So if we're saying to ourselves, if we've kind of gone past that point of awareness and we are saying to ourselves, you know, I have anxiety, I am anxious, what's happening then? Okay, so now we need to think about the subconscious mind and how the subconscious works. Now, the subconscious is always on. It's what keeps us breathing. It's what keeps us, checking my words there, when we're asleep. Okay, so it's always on, and it is a massive, it makes up a huge part of our mind. So it makes up 90 to 95% of our mind. Now, our subconscious is an absolute powerhouse, but it is working, you know, we don't know what's happening within it. Okay. So this is why, just to illustrate this, you know, subconscious is busy off doing its own thing. We're consciously aware of what, you know, we're consciously aware of. So a few bits of information, but the subconscious is off doing its own thing. So to illustrate this, you know, as an example, you are highly likely not to be thinking about a pink elephant until I mention pink elephant. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, pink elephant, yeah, got it. And then, you know, thinking about, you're highly likely not to be thinking about the temperature in your right foot until I've just mentioned it. And that's because the subconscious is keeping everything running for us. You know, it's keeping your temperature good. It's not alerting you because your right foot feels okay. So until I actually say and focus on our right foot, you know, it's there doing its thing. But because it's always on, this is what's happening when we're labeling ourselves. It is always listening, okay? But there's no logic or rationale to the subconscious either. So it's not going to go, okay, great, that's a good thought, we'll stash that, we'll work with that, that's a bad thought, blah, blah, blah. It's just going to, it's always on, it's always listening. It's always going to take in whatever we're saying to ourselves. You know, this is why positive affirmations will work as well. I'm a little bit careful we're talking about positive affirmations because sometimes we need to, you know, dig into the subconscious for those if they're being blocked. But again, that's a different subject. But basically, the subconscious is always on. It's always listening. It's always taking things in. It is going to set a GPS, a sat nav almost. It's like setting a sat nav for whatever we are saying to ourselves. So, and whatever we're focused on. So if we are saying, I am anxious, I have anxiety, it's going to be focused on that, okay? It's going to bring more of that into our world. So if we're talking about addiction, you know, I have an addiction, whatever it may be, you know, we're going to focus on that. We're going to, you know, we're going to be bringing more of that into our worlds. Whatever the subconscious is focused on, it's going to create more of. So it's going to create more in our world. Our behaviors are going to create more. The subconscious sets off automatic programs. So, you know, perhaps those programs that create particular behaviors are going to create more anxiety, more stress. And we're going to attract more, you know, we're going to attract more via our subconscious, but we're also going to attract more depending on how our energy within our body is as well. You know, we are magnetic, you know, we are in alignment for whatever we're focused on. So we want that to be, you know, good things rather than things that are going to cause us more issues. So for example, if I'm saying, I'm using anxiety as a big example here, but you know, it can be anything. But if we're saying I have anxiety, I feel anxious, or I feel anxious in blah 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 particular situations, whatever it may be, but I am anxious. So the subconscious is going to go, right, remembering there's no logic or rationale, but it's going to be like, right, okay, focused on anxiety. So we're going to ping with these automatic programs are going to run, and we're going to create more. So I'm going to make her work harder. I'm going to make her feel really, really guilty if she's not working hard, and that's going to create more anxiety, because that's what I want. That's what we're focused on. We're going to create more drama. We're going to create more stress, you know, drama here with relationships here, create more stress, whether that's you know, attracting like relationships with clients or colleagues or personal relationships. We're just going to create more and more and more and whip it into even more of this kind of anxiety, overwhelm and chaos, you know, that, and I feel it, I get it, because I was so there. I talk a lot about my work around deactivating the chaos and coming into this space of, okay, you know, we can come into this space of stillness, of peace of mind, which then, I mean, it just opens up so many opportunities. But just thinking about, you know, work, for example, creates this space of, well, gives a space to be able to be more focused, to be more creative, be more successful in life, to come into our thriving. So what we can do instead is, as I say, labels are great for awareness. So, you know, it gives us our starting point. If we're not aware of something, we've got nothing to work with. Okay, so that awareness, bringing something into our awareness, is a massive chunk of our healing, actually. So it's great. It is great for an awareness, you know, our level of awareness. However, if we then use those labels as, or our diagnoses as flags, as and see them as identifiers for what our mind and our body are saying to us particularly need attention right now. If we see them as a kind of signal that this is what we need to work on, or this is, you know, this is something that is coming up for resolution, then we're onto a winner. Okay, then we can identify what needs to be resolved, and we've got something to work with. It's like a flag or a mirror to go, okay, this, you know, this is here, let's work with it, to then move to that next level. Now, that may feel like a big job, a big undertaking, and I totally get that. And you may be in this space of like, yeah, Anna, okay, this all sounds great, but seriously, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so exhausted, I just don't know what to do next, you know. So this all sounds great, but it sounds huge. And I get that. And it will be if you don't use the right modalities, okay, to work with. Now, I'll explain what I mean around that. So if we are trying to resolve, you know, these symptoms with our conscious mind, so if we are using counselling, for example, coaching, we're doing that conscious mind work to resolve these issues, as opposed to the subconscious or the body wisdom's work, using the body wisdom, then it is going to be a much, you know, longer bigger, heavier kind of, it's going to be heavier work for us to do because we're up in the mind. We're not using the natural healing ability of, our subconscious mind and our body's wisdom that is available to us. Now, I want to be super, super clear here. I am never, never, never poo-pooing counselling, coaching, any of these kind of, conscious mind therapies, modalities work, because absolutely everything has its place. But what I want to, get the message out there is that I did a lot of this work starting with this conscious mind work, and it just did not go deep enough for me. It wasn't the right work for me. So everything that I work with has brought about deep, 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 powerful transformations, in my world. And you may well know, my journey has been resolving the absolute shitstorm of the after effect of childhood sexual abuse, abandonment, kind of rejection, kind of trauma, through to actually being able to create and live the life that I want, but also for my lovely boy as well. So breaking those generational chains of trauma. So the modalities that I work with, as I say, have created those big resolutions for me. So I work with, as I said at the start, but hypnotherapy and breathwork. Now, both of those modalities use the natural healing ability of our subconscious and our body's wisdom. So both the subconscious and the body know how we need to heal. We know where the root cause, the subconscious knows where the root cause of our issues sits, and it will be able to take us there. As soon as we can communicate with the subconscious, which we do through hypnotherapy, hypnosis, we can identify where that root cause is. And also the subconscious will know where to go, but it also knows how we need to heal. So we have got this available to us within, our natural kind of ability within healing. So we need to be able to tap into, as I say, that natural healing ability of the subconscious and the body's wisdom, which I do through hypno and breathwork. With breathwork, we can purge the energy that needs to be released. So whether that's stress, anxiety, trauma energy, we can purge that. The body takes over, the body purges that energy to be able to make space for calm and for the good things, the good stuff, our true desires to be able to come into our worlds, unlocks our hearts, so we can create those much better connections within our lives. So with our kids, our parents, our partners, soul clients, whoever it may be. But we have this natural healing ability within us. So, if we tap into that, we are going to experience, more efficient healing. And we're going to experience the healing that, our mind and our body, our subconscious mind and our body just know that we need. Okay, we don't have to jump through hoops of doing heavy, heavy conscious mind work for a long, long space of time. So this is all about getting into alignment as well with who we truly are. So kind of, as we talked about, like when we're setting up when we give ourselves labels, we're talking ourselves into this kind of smaller box. We're coming out of alignment with who we truly are and who we need to be based on our life experiences. This is a totally normal, natural thing to do. And it's the way that, society generally works. So it's just something that we learn. But actually, this is to highlight why actually it's going to potentially make things worse for us. And actually there are, other answers out there available. So if we don't do this work, if we carry on labeling ourselves, if we don't do this deeper work, we are definitely going to stay in this, stuck space. And we are potentially, our trauma, our symptoms, our issues are potentially gonna, compound over time. This again was my experience, and feel worse as we continue through. So if you may be listening to this from kind of varying levels of understanding, knowing, awareness already. You may be a complete, beginner to this. You may have worked with this before on some level, but if you'd like to dig a bit deeper into this, by all means, feel free to either write me a comment or send me a DM. If you want to, if this feels like it's a okay, this sounds an interesting theory, I'd like to dig a bit more into this. If you feel like it's a hell yes, I want to start talking about this work now, obviously, do get in touch. And you're more than welcome to DM me for a free lifestyle audit with me as well, where we will actually look through what's happening for you now, where you want to be, and actually how we can bridge that gap in the middle. DM me for the audit. What was I going to say then? It's just pinged out of my head. It's totally gone. That's what I was going to say. And we can run the audit either through Messenger chat. We can chat on Messenger, or we can set up a call, whichever you feel more comfortable with. This is about trying to find the right things for you to work with. And equally, if we chat and I feel like I am not the person to help you, then I can always refer you to other people as well. So DM me with any questions. If you'd like the audit, if you want to talk about any particular symptoms, any particular addictions, I'm here to help. And it is my absolute mission to get this messaging out into the world, that actually we don't need to manage cope things. We don't need to put labels on things, because we actually can use them to help us resolve our issues, our symptoms, to be able to come into this space of really, really thriving in our lives. So have